Hello, Illinois live stream. Welcome to kickoff day for PowerPlay, and welcome to our session here on perspective on judging from a judge. We often hear about requirements and things teams want to do. We thought it might be helpful for teams if we took a session and we talked a little bit from our perspective. So with us today, we're going to talk a little bit about a structure of your team, and then being your team, we're talk about the how-tos, the what-tos, the when-tos, so you can have an overview of kind of how the season plays out, and then we'll share some helpful hints with you. And today we have myself. I'm serving the role as a Illinois Tech Challenge judge advisor. A judge advisor's role, if you're not familiar with it, is to coordinate and organize the judges, to facilitate the deliberations. So while I myself as a judge advisor, I'm not serving as a judge at the same time, I'm helping the judges through the process so that they can go through that mechanism to help support you and to recognize you as teams. So I've been involved with FIRST since about 2012. And then with me, I have World Championship Judge Marc Solomon. So Marc?
So honestly, I've been involved since 2004. I've been a referee. I've been involved in FRC, FTC, FLL over the years. I've pretty much held every job except for a judge advisor in all those years. I've judged at World 3 or 4 times now, and it's always been a very exciting job, and it gets me induced to go do it again next year.
All right, and I guess that's a really key message as we go through all this. The volunteers that are participating in FIRST are really inspired by FIRST. They're really inspired by the teams. Many of us are past coaches, parents, mentors, and we have a real passion for this. So we're here, and we want to continue this for others and pay it forward. So where does the season start? Season starts at different places for everyone. When a judge is looking at a season, we say that the season starts at the end of your last season. So if there's teams that are already on their journey, that have already decided that they have a certain approach they want to take or have things that they want to coordinate as a key for their team and what they're doing, they could do it at the end of the season. If anybody has not yet started their season, I will tell you today is the start of your season. A lot of people think about judging after meet 3. There's a meet schedule, and after meet 3, everyone says, well, at the next event, we're going to have judging. Please don't do that. Today is the day that you start judging. And what I mean by that is, of course, you won't be judged until the championships. But your journey from today till then will determine what is going to be said in those days and how meaningful it will be when you talk to judges about it. Some teams are going to come in and say, hey, I'm a new rookie team. All I want to do is get my robot to move. That's great. Some teams are going to say, I want to get a sensor to move, or I want to learn software, or I want to build. Some are going to say, I want to do outreach in the community, and that's great too, because that's part of the ethos of FIRST. Whatever it is that your team wants to accomplish, define it at the beginning of the season, have a purpose, and with that purpose, decide as a team, are you willing to invest the time and energy to get to those objectives that you've set? Some people have very high objectives. Turbocharged, Rust in Peace, Supreme Scream Brothers. We want to recognize them one last time. They were our Illinois teams that went to World Championships last year. If you have a desire to be one of those teams this year, know it's a long journey and know that there's a lot of dedication that comes into it. But wherever you end your journey, it's helpful to start your journey with having an objective. The objective is not carved in stone. You can evolve it over time. And that's the kind of things you're going to share with the judges at the end of the season. That's the important part for us. So kind of to identify where you are, help us understand your journey. So the question that we always get is, what do I have to do to get the X award, Control Award, Design Award, Motivate Award? And the dirty little secret is it's been in front of you all the time. Game Manual Part 1, all the references you'll see in the slides, and these will be available to everyone after the kickoff ceremonies today. In 9.5 of Game Manual Part 1, you'll see all the list of awards and award categories. And in 9.4.1, you'll see all the information about how judging works. So Marc and I are going to go into a little bit more detail on these for you. First of all, in 9.5, you'll see all the awards, but the part you won't see is a section at the bottom, team preparation. In 9.4.3, the engineering Game Manual Part 1 tells you that when you're preparing, a great way to prepare is, guess what? Read the Judge and Judge Advisor Manual. That's a volunteer manual. People have always asked us for that in the past. Now this season with transparency, you're going to see in 9.4.3 a link to this manual. And what this is going to tell you is that what the judges are looking for is two categories, robot-related categories and outreach-related categories. MCI for robot-related and team attribute, TA for team attribute. I won't go into much more detail. We'll cover that in a few slides. But when the judges are looking at your teams, they're kind of broken into these areas. When you're describing and telling the judges about your abilities and what you've done throughout the season, there's a set of terms in Appendix F. In Appendix F, you'll see terms like started, mentored, assisted. They mean different things. And we will have teams that come to us that say, I started 20 teams. That's not necessarily what happened. What happened was I was involved in an outreach event, and at the outreach event, there were 25 teams that were exhibiting at Maker Faire, and they inspired a bunch of teams, and in the end, those teams joined. There are terms to be able to give everyone a common set of language to describe what that really was. Did you mentor? Did you start? And if you use those words and you have supporting information for those words, it's very, very helpful for the judges. Okay, so that's a great guide for you. 9.3.5 is probably the most important thing that you're going to hear about today, and Marc's going to get into that a little bit later, but the engineering portfolio is a required element, and it drives your day with the judges. It's your guide to the judges of what your season was like, and it helps us through it. So I'll stop there for a second because we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. The second thing I want to let you be aware of as far as these elements is that in 6.2, there's a set of the advancement criteria. If your team is interested in having a journey that hopefully gets you to the state championships or to the world championships, this is going to guide if you have an opportunity to advance or not. The judges are aware of the order of advancement. Our process we go through to recognize you and to deliver awards follows this order. So when we're deliberating and we get to, say, the Inspire, well, so let's say down here, the Think Award. When we get to the Think Award, we will look for a winner for the Think Award, and then we will move on to the next category, the Connect Award, and so on. Before we talk about runner-ups, we will go through the winners of every category. The purpose of that is it gives you the best opportunity to advance if you're recognized in one of these areas. So if that's one of the interests you have as a team, please know that the judges are doing our best to help you in that way by recognizing those things. So I'm going to hand over to Marc, and he's going to talk about a little more details.
Okay, so the judging works is all listed in 9.4.1. It starts off when you first arrive at the event. You're going to be given a time slot to go speak to the judges. Now, each judging panel will consist of 2, 3, or 4 judges, depending on how lucky we were on recruiting judges. One of those judges will be an MCI judge, a technical judge, and he's going to be looking for the Connect Award and the Design and the Innovate Awards. Notice that the Connect has moved up over the years. It used to be one of the ones at the bottom of the pack. Connect is now right after Think for advancement, so it's changed. And we will have one TA, one outreach judge, usually a manager type of person instead of a technical type of person. And so you want to talk to these people. You want to identify with them. You want to watch them as you're presenting, because they're going to give you feedback on what you need to elaborate more on and what you've discussed enough. And you only got 5 minutes to do your presentation. After that, they get to ask questions, where if they do want to hear more about things, they can get more information at that time. After the interviews, the morning interviews with the judges all collect in a room with the judge advisor, and they start putting the teams that they interviewed with in the morning into various buckets. This one did good on Connect. This one did good on Innovate. And so we'll put them the teams that we felt did good into these buckets. At the earlier events, the league championships, most of the teams won't make it into any bucket. It's unfortunate, but some teams will shine at a small event. When they get to state, it's a little bit more difficult. You'll get teams more teams scattered through the buckets, and at World, it gets to be mayhem. Now, there's a bucket for every award except for the Inspire that the judges are going to fill in. The bucket for Inspire gets filled in a different way. If a team has at least one entry in an outreach bucket and another entry in the technical buckets, the MCI buckets, they'll be put into the Inspire bucket also. So these are teams that are all very well rounded. They hit all the points for the year that need to be hit, and so that's important. So we'll now break up into new panels where each judge's panel will be specific for one award or one group of awards. The smaller events, we frequently glob together the MCI award judges into one group and the outreach into another, just because we don't have enough judges to go through that many. And they go out into the pits and they start talking to the teams in the pits. So we get to the pit interviews. In the pit interviews, when a judge panel comes to your pit, they're usually there to ask you about questions about a specific award. If the person or people in your team are not in the pit at that time, politely explain this. Well, the team members should explain it. The coaches shouldn't talk to the judges at all. But have them explain politely to the judges that he's not here right now, he'll be back, or do you mind if we go run and get him? If he's like on the practice field, get him over, him or her. And have them interview with the judges. The judges usually won't mind if asked politely to come back later. We do a lot of that. So, there's also another set of judges called the match observers. These are the judges you will see out on the fields during the matches watching. And they're there for a number of reasons. All the judges are always watching for gracious professionalism, so that's one reason. For the technical awards, these judges are seeing if what the award is for is being actually done by the robot. It doesn't have to be done all the time, so you're up for an innovation award, and occasionally it works, that's good. We'd like it to work all the time, that would be the preference. I've been an engineer for way too many years to believe that's going to be the case. There's another team of judges that are going to be working on the Think Award. They don't go out and speak to the teams, they read the portfolios. Personally, I've been judges at local events and at world events, and I usually avoid being I want to talk to the teams. So, lastly, something new this year, mentioned in 4.4 of the game manual, teams may not opt out of the judges' awards. In previous years, teams have made it to World without ever being judged. That's no longer allowed. Okay, so what this slide is about is the Q&A, question and answer section. This is a website that you can get to through the First Inspires website that during the course of the year, you can ask, your team members may ask questions. Now, most of the questions are about game rules. Can I do this? What happens if somebody does this to me? What are the penalties? But it also goes over judging questions. So if you have a question about how judging is going to be done, look here first. If you don't see the question already asked and answered, ask it. It doesn't hurt if it provides you some assurance that you're doing it right. This is the place to get it. The manuals are our best guess about getting all the questions answered, but you know, it changes over the year, and this is where it gets changed. So I think that's it for. Okay. What? One more? Okay. The engineering portfolio can only be 15 pages plus a cover page. Now, a lot of people figure the cover page is a loss. All you get to do is put your team number on it. I've seen teams get creative. There's no information you're allowed to put on that page other than the number. But you can put team pictures on there. Let the interviewers know, oh yeah, that was that team, I remember them. You could put a table of contents on there. So instead of wasting half a page inside the document of those 15 pages you're allowed to put information, you could put a table of contents on the cover page. So there are uses of that, but you're limited 15 pages, 10-point font, and the team number must be on the front page. If you can get it on every page, it's better. It has to be printed and turned in at the judging. Now, in section 9.3.6, there is, like shown here, a list of team must submit an engineering portfolio. The engineering portfolio must include examples of so on and so forth. And so what you need in the engineering portfolio for each award is listed in section 9.3.6, 9.3.4a. You're no longer allowed to connect to external information. You're turning this in on paper. Links aren't going to work anyway, so don't bother. There's a new self-assessment form coming out this year. But the main thing is this portfolio needs to tell your journey, your successes, your challenges, concisely. You only have 15 pages. So you want to see that, show that you've made progress during the year to your final goals. You've had problems that you've overcome, but you need to limit it to the 15 pages. Okay? Something else you need to turn in if you want to be eligible for it is the control award. It must not exceed 2 pages. The sample here just has a blank field on it. When we find out what the field actually looks like, it will be updated. The award criteria for this is in 9.5.5. The control award instructions are in Appendix D, and the submission form, this page here, is in Appendix E. And again, it cannot exceed more than 2 pages. Okay. What's the one on the right again? So, okay. These are, oh, I see, it does mention it. The one on the left here is the judge feedback request form. Now, the top section, I think, is filled out by the team. The bottom section goes through and says, you did a good job on this, you need improvement, you did an excellent job. There'll be no words, it's just a checkbox. So if you're looking for great insights coming from the judges, this isn't going to give it to you. It will point out the sections that you need to improve, but it will not tell you how you need to improve. So the one on the right is the judges session self-reflection sheet. This is for your team to do, to figure out what you thought you did well, what you thought you messed up, where you need to improve. That's for you, and it's a useful tool for your team. The judges don't see it. So, okay.
Okay, so thanks, Marc. Whoops, sorry. So in closing, a few minutes of closing, and then if we have any questions. So some helpful hints. Volunteers are here for you. This is your game. This is your season. We are here to support and help you. Please don't think of a volunteer as judge and jury. When you hear the word judge, you have this kind of connotation that it's somebody that's making some significant decision about you. In fact, that's not really what the judges are here for. The judges are here to hear your story and help amplify it by giving out awards and recognition. So actually, think of us in a positive way. Think of us as someone you want to have that conversation with and you want to talk to, because we want to hear it. We're excited to hear everything you have to offer, but we warn you, warn's a pretty strong word, maybe not warn, but we give you some insight that your judging panel that you have is going to be completely diverse. From the morning to the afternoon, from event to event, the volunteer pool varies a lot. My job as a judge advisor is to try to put the right teams of judges together to give you the best chance that whatever you have to say, be it outreach in the community or be it robot-related activities, that we try to give you a blend of people, technical and community, that whatever it is you want to share, hopefully they have some insights to and can help you with that. The portfolio Marc talked about in detail, the 5-minute interview you have in the morning, we've been talking for 25 minutes. You get 5 in the morning. If I were to tell you one thing, I would say that your portfolio, together with your 5-minute speech in the morning, your presentation, think of it like a movie trailer. When you watch a movie trailer, when that movie trailer is done, do you want to go see that movie or do you not want to go see that movie? Think of it that way. Your movie trailer to us is giving us that basic information in the portfolio, presenting to us. Don't take your 5 minutes telling us in great detail lots of stuff. You won't have enough time. Take that time to really let us see the movie trailer so that we check a box and we say, we want to talk more to them. And then we do those pit interviews. We do that more detailed discussion. You'll have time during the day, but you need to encourage us in the morning. You need to inspire us in the morning for that information. And as you see, we'll be taking notes about the robot. We'll be taking notes about the community. And we'll be highlighting where we're going to have more conversations. So please, when you get out of that morning session, don't worry so much about depth. Worry about inspiring us to want to hear more. Tease us. Tease us to want to hear more. And then finally, recognize that even though there's people in the room that have been judges since before you were born, or that they've been in industry for 30 or 40 years, that just because we have certain expertise, we are not the expert of your team. You are. Every person on your team is the expert on your team. You only know about your journey. We don't. We only have a short period of time for you to give us those insights. Remember that we don't know anything about your team or your season until you share it with us. So the things that you went through during the year that you want to highlight, that you want to tease to us, focus on that. Get that information to us so we can say, hey, they sound like they have a very interesting season in this regard or that regard. Let's make sure we talk to them more about those things. Use that opportunity, a little bit at a time. Finally, supporting materials. While you only have 5 minutes in the presentation, you might have some have computer screens, some have poster boards, some have a variety of different things. There and in the pits, if you have additional supporting information that'll help you tell some of your story, if it'll help you with some of your engineering mathematics that you use, your formulas, your decision making on materials, whatever it may be, having that extra stuff there is helpful. So if you have someone as an expert talking to a judge, in that response to a judge, if you also want to show them something, that's perfectly fine. And not only is that perfectly fine, it shows us that you're not just talking about it now, that you actually had that journey. So that's very helpful for us. And then finally, just remember that portfolio. Again, that portfolio in that 5 minutes is key. So I'm going to stop there for a second and ask if we have any questions here. Are there any questions, I guess, on the floor? Yes.
I've been asking this for a while. Like FRC, every year, and their chairman's winning team is actually sharing their essays. Should I repeat? They actually share this essays. So is it possible the Inspire winner is actually sharing their portfolio?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. We actually, through gracious professionalism, we encourage sharing. A lot of people make their code available at the end of the year. The question is, well, what about like a presentation or an engineering portfolio or whatever it may be? It's a good question. I think we can give that feedback through our state leadership team and encourage that. I would check the variety of sources that are out there, people's websites, their Twitter feeds, their Facebook pages. Make contact and ask those questions.
Back in the days when the engineering notebook was what got you in, there were sample engineering notebooks on the first site and a guide to writing engineering notebooks. And one of those notebooks on the website was a Got Robot notebook, and all the examples in how to write a notebook came from that engineering notebook from Got Robot.
Yeah, and we will bring that feedback back to try to encourage some of that. I would only close with one caveat, and it's something I've already said, Marc's already said. Be cautious about trying to follow examples of others that have won. Even people who win awards, as they go from event to event, based on the different types of volunteers and things like that, there's a change that goes on from event to event. And don't think that it's a silver bullet. It's not a magic thing. It's helpful. It's informative, yes. But I guess my closing thought to you is what I've said already, which is tell your story your way, hit all the key points, not just your successes, but some of your challenges. No season has ever gone perfect. If it has, I've not seen it. And as a coach, I particularly have not seen it. And that's all good stuff. That's all stuff that wants us to hear more, wants us to talk to you more. So we really look forward to seeing you throughout the season. We're going to kind of be handing over in a minute here on the live stream into the next session. For all of those at home, please feel free to come back to the videos and ask your questions. And everyone have a wonderful season. Thank you.